And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing some of the recent changes behind the scenes, more recoil changes after we did our top 10 list. Yay! And following that, it's just going to be a hodgepodge of random, crazy, dystopian, post apocalyptic stuff going on within Tarkov. I don't know. I'm going to be honest and just going to put it out here in the front. This cast is going to be a little different. It's going to be kind of negative from me at least, okay? And I'm personally going through some personal things in life that are affecting that, but I am just kind of at my limits of Tarkov at the moment. So if you're like, this church guy, I really don't know about him. Okay, it might be best to click on a different, episode. We got different episodes of different churches, personas, all right? This is like the darker church persona coming out today.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because we were literally just talking before the cast, and I was like, "Yeah, this one is. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna have to caveat that I'm enjoying the game like I always do, right? And it's playing solo, whatever. I feel that like the experience of me playing the game is very different from engaging with the community and like what's happening on the community side. And I feel this week has been a very it's been a very dark week. It's been a very bleak week for many reasons. And for me, it's probably been like one of the bleakest. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be like just super downbeat, but I'm definitely going to be critical of some of the stuff that's happened because it's kind of annoying, and I'm not super happy about it. So yeah, we will we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, we'll manage to lift some kind of positive spirit out of it at least. But I don't know. With that said, let's just jump it straight into the first piece, which is actually gameplay related, which is actually nice. The stuff that I obviously like to look at the most, which is the improvements they made to the DMRs. So they managed to put out another update to the recoil changes and patch stuff that they've been doing recently, which is kind of cool. But I mean, this one probably has the least impact out of all of them. I don't know. I don't know whether you went into it really deeply, Church, and had a look at it. But it's basically all of the DMRs. There's probably ones that we're missing, but it's the G28, the really expensive one, but the super lightweight one. The SR25, the M1A, the sword, like the Mark 18, Mjolnir, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
The SVD, the RSAS, the RFB, all got their horizontal recoil improved, and then also so did the VSS as well, which is the reason why I'm like singling that one out separately.
Yeah.
Is because it's the only one that goes full auto out of that list,
Right.
and it's typically been terrible. Or at least those guns have had a pretty hard time across the past kind of like year and a half, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting. So they didn't do the AS Val either, I'm assuming,
No, it doesn't seem like they
because it's not
did.
a DMR. So I mean, it makes sense. But I'm just
Yeah,
curious. So is the
yeah.
VSS better than the
Now
AS Val now?
I think so. Nothing changed. This is all horizontal recoil. So the ASVAL, like the return to center time, the convergence is slightly better, or it always has been, which makes total sense.
Sure.
I'm not sure if the horizontal recoil. I'm actually just going to look it up because I didn't check this before. I'm just going to look up and see whether that's the same or not. Oh no, I'm getting stuck. You can actually look it up on Tarkov changes.
Yeah.
ASVAL. Where are we? Here we go. Special assault rifle. Cool. Because they actually have all the stats there, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
So you can just check if things are up to date. Because sometimes the issue with like the changes is that sometimes it's hard to like remember, like if there was a change that you missed or whatever. Like it's unless you get like a lovely magic Excel sheet produced from the dark, that comes out of the dark part of the underbelly of the Tarkov community. It's kind of tricky to know otherwise, and you think, oh, what was this gun anyway? And like maybe you missed an update or whatever. But like being able to go to Logical's website and just look it up is really cool. So yeah, so that one is it's 20 is the Val, and they've changed the VSS to 12 from 20. So it is now better. So they used to be the same, and now it's better than the SVAL in terms of horizontal. But the vertical control is not quite as good, and obviously you can't really mod it at all.
Yeah. But...
So make of that what you will. I mean, as we've all said, right, the horizontal recoil is the powerhouse of making things actually feel good in many ways. So
it's kind of interesting between the two.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, one's got better horizontal, but you can mod. I wonder whether you can like
Right.
mod the Val to feel the same.
That'd be interesting. That's
You know,
interesting to
it's
see.
20 is the base
'Cause the
stat,
other
but
thing
you
with
can get half the recoil, right?
because the other thing with the Val is it has better convergence or auto recoil control by point
Yeah.
0.2, which isn't insignificant. So it's, I don't know. I think it's probably I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I have actually been using the VSS a little bit. I've been using mostly. So I've been trying. We can talk about this like later on, but I've been trying out some of these guns because I posted a video that I thought was going to be interesting. It was kind of spurred by the whole like looking at the Zabralo and
Mm-hmm.
seeing how there's really only like 8 rounds in the game that you can access that might actually be able to kill this thing. Obviously outside of headshotting or leg meta, that you can
Right.
actually like get through. And I was like, I wonder what applies for like class 5. I had a look at those selections of rounds, and I've just been kind of using a selection of those. So I need to do Punisher 6 anyway, so I've been using the SVD, which it's been kind of cool using that with BT, and then now I've moved on to the VSS. But I'm just like trying to go through like various different guns. I used the G36 with M9 M5 a little bit, which is kind of fun. So there's like basically all the high end ammos. I'm just kind of going to cycle through crafting a bunch of different ones and just see like how I feel about them with the different weapons and come to some kind of conclusion if there's like a a new meta or whatever that feels good. I don't know, because like so many of these things are bottlenecked by Workbench 3. But anyway, I was using the VSS. It feels okay. It's not too bad. It actually feels alright. I don't know. The jury's still out. Like I've only run a couple of raids with it, but I killed a guy with an MP7 using the VSS. So it's all right. And SP6 is actually super powerful because it's basically like BP.
Yeah.
I've been running the 20 rounders because I've been trying to find like a nice budget, sweet spot.
No, I
So
think
yeah,
20
I don't
rounds are
know.
good.
Yeah, so I think it's fun. I'm trying to find something that's like cheap because that's the thing. If you're going to run, the big problem with the VSS is unless you're tower, like you can't really hit anything at long range.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a glorified SMG,
Right.
and to justify using it over like any 7.62 gun with BP, there has to be some redeeming feature. One of which is like it's super easy to build and it's cheap. If you can run it on the budget, then and it's got the same performance like close up, then okay, you can run it like a bit like an equivalent to the MCX, but not as expensive. The MCX is sort of a glorified SMG, probably less bad now because the changes to its stats. But like previously, it was just like glorified SMG with a 48 pen rounds. It's kind of like the best SMG in the game, even though it's they are. And the VSS and the Val's kind of in that camp as well. So anyway, I'm just seeing if it's got a place in the meta. So we'll see. The other ones, I just don't think it matters that much. Like, yeah, you'll be able to track people slightly better, but I mean, they're all semi-auto anyway. Like, I couldn't really feel any difference with the SVD compared to last wipe, to be honest. Like, using it close up or using it at long ranges. I mean, it's improved to the horizontal from 25 to 17. Yeah, it bounces less horizontally. Like, fine, the gun's got like 150 recoil, so you get whatevs.
I don't know. I kind of don't like the. I thought it was more interesting that the DMRs had the old 25 convergence, and all the full auto guns had the newer 9 to 14 or whatever it is now, that range.
Yeah.
Because now I think it's kind of a no brainer to go with the DMRs unless you really value full auto, because you're gonna get the higher caliber, and you can just now spam click. Like you're basically only trading rate of fire. Whereas like previously you could spam click, but like that viability gets reduced the further out you try to spam click because of the horizontal spread. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you could just spam click and pull down, and it's going to be better than what it was prior. So that's kind of my take on it. I could be wrong, but and it's not 17. I mean, 25 to 17 isn't that crazy. I just thought they were actually kind of in a good spot where they were prior, but
yeah, I do agree with you. I'm just not sure if it's really going to matter all that much. I just don't think it really makes so much difference. Like it has so much more impact on a full auto weapon, with it tick, 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 left, right, left, right, left, right.
For sure.
Like, yeah, it's cool that it's slightly lower in some sense. And I'm just not sure if it swings it. Like,
but like, if this change happened prior to our top 10 list, I would have definitely replaced the MDR 308 with the RSS 100%. Because that's basically.
Really?
Yeah, because the MDR you can full auto up close, right? but it kind of has like not that great convergence and or no, it has good convergence, but really bad auto recoil control. Whereas
Yeah.
now that the difference between the two is basically full auto, more or less.
Yeah, because
Arguably,
that one, because it didn't get touched in this particular
right.
change.
And the RSS has better convergence. MDR
Mhm.
has 1.3, RSS is like 1.7 or 1.6. So it's just like now to me it's like an you know, I guess in that one niche category, for my pick, um now it just feels like a no-brainer to go with a RSS or even a SR25 just because
Yeah,
it's
or
easy
like
to
the
mod.
M1A, like I was talking about,
Yeah,
last
M1,
time.
yeah.
So yeah, any of those guys really. Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting. We're gonna have to see. Like, I'm still not quite like I've made some M61, but I've not used that
Hmm.
caliber again yet. I'm still trying to work out whether it's worth just going with the RFB or something and just like M61 RFB.
Yeah, maybe. I have a question for you since we're kind of on this topic. What do you have you used M62 in the MCX? I can't remember if we talked about this already.
I did. It was okay.
Okay.
Um, I think that just the issue that I have is that the M6 is kind of expensive to mod, and
Yeah,
if you're trying for a cheap build,
it's really
then
hard.
it's tricky, and the 800 RPM ends up like hurting you more
Right.
than helping in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, and that was because I misremembered about M62 because I actually bought a bunch. Like I just forgot in my head, and I went to look at the stats, and I was like, oh, it is strictly worse than 56A1. Like that's actually really disappointing. Like I thought it had more damage than it did, but it's got like the same damage and one less pen. I was like, man, that actually really sucks.
And
I
lower
mean, it's
velocity.
yeah, and like lower velocity. I'm just like, okay, I mean, this is fine, right? But like, there's a reason why I don't use the M4 early,
Hmm.
and I end up using the SCAR and the MDR and the AK-101 because they've got the lower fire rate. It's actually, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like having this like random thought, when you're just like having a shower or something, you're just like thinking
Hmm.
about things. I was like, can you imagine if you could just like tweak the RPM of the different guns? Some of the
Wow, that'd be really interesting.
it'd be really strange, wouldn't it? If you could theoretically
Well,
just but like like how low would you turn it? Do you know what I mean? Like is 650 the sweet spot? Like is 700 okay? Like it's kind of interesting because like at some point the fire rate becomes like detrimental. Like you start missing more because the recoil is like harder to control and your mag unloads faster. But then you've got the time to kill thing if you can control it. Like it's a tricky one. Like previously it was all about fire rate. Like everything was about fire rate until 1212. And like it was the UMP like back then was the classic case for this, right? It was like the UMP sucked and everyone was just like, oh, this is the worst gun in the game. Literally 1212 came in and like convergence became important and the UMP became like A tier like overnight. It was just crazy. Like nobody ever would use the UMP before because it's like 600 or 650 RPM. It's like super super slow fire rate. And then as soon as 1212 happened, it became like completely godly because it was like one of the only early guns you could control super well. It's like so weird how that ended up working out.
yeah,
And I feel like that's kind of the same thing with the MCX. It's like it's great when you can fully mod it and you have Skier 4 and you can do the barter for the
exactly. That's
SRD.
what I think as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got AP in it, and which is like one pen better than 762 BP, even. Like, you're like 60% against class fives. Like, oh my god, it's starting to get really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise I'd rather just use 5601, I think, in one of the other guns. Like put it in an MDR.
Yeah, because my buddy was debating about it. Between that and the P90 with L191, which they have like relatively similar stats. 33 pin on the P90 round, 58 damage, and I think he ultimately went with the P90, which I kind of figured was going to be the case, simply because it kind of does the same thing. Like they're kind of the same gun, but P90 is arguably better. 50, you get bigger mags, um, high rate of fire. I
Yeah.
think it's like 100 more, or maybe it's 200 more. Like they're basically the same thing. So
And you like don't have to mod the P90 at all.
right,
You just put a
right.
sight on the gun. That's literally it, which is like one of its huge redeeming features, actually. Like, I don't like L191 as an ammo at all. I
Well
really
said.
don't like it at all. But you basically like, you're
Why?
almost in like the 9 because 33 pen is like a really awkward pen value.
It
33 pen
is.
really is not very good, right?
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. And there are situations where you're going to be like, it's an L191 moment, you know, and you just someone dies because or someone kills you because they've got, you know, an ANAM2 tactical on and you shot them 5 times in the chest and they didn't die. But the redeeming feature is just the 900 RPM pew 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 spray
Right.
plus the 50 round mags as standard,
Yeah.
meaning that you are basically going to headshot them at some point. That's
right.
the deal. Like that's the deal. Like it's not
Right.
the ammo for busting through stuff. It's just the recoil is super low, and the fire rate is really high, which is like quite an unusual combination. And the mags are huge by default. Like it's got a lot going for it, but you really have to hit the headshot. You just can't, like, you cannot go center mass. Honestly, like going center mass with L1, oh god, it's just like it's awful. And that's the thing that is horrible for me, because I feel like, and this is partly, it's like it is a definite skill issue, is that I rely way too heavily on like center of mass meta in
Yeah.
general, and I do need to work on it. Like it's one of those things that I just have become lazy and just like automatically do it. And like reviewing some of the clips that I was with the 101 recently, because everyone's been wearing class 4 armor, so I've just been killing everybody in like 2 or 3 shots. And there's like a bunch of people wearing class 5s now, and it's become like painfully obvious that I'm like aiming at people's thorax, even in CQB, because it's consistent, right? Like I know that I can use the ammos
Right.
that ends up killing. It's what sparked the video in the first place of how to defeat class 5, because I was like using 5.6A1 until like suddenly I was losing these, like I was running out of bullets because I was like missing and hitting arms, legs, hitting their chest like 3 times, and then not dying, me running out of bullets and them killing me, either with a headshot or whatever. And my level of like my rate of headshots is just like super low. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just like that's the thing. For me, it just doesn't really work. I'm like literally like plugging some numbers in as we speak just to get a gauge on how terrible this might be. So yeah, against I mean, the trooper's slightly unfair, but it's like, you know, it's like 6 shots if you going through someone's thorax to kill them with the trooper.
With
With L191.
yeah, but I mean
The
900
rat rig's like
RPM. That's not too
4
bad.
something. It's like high up. Yeah, it is high RPM, but that's like, but they've got their gun up, you know. This is the problem, right? Like, and I
Right. You
always
hit
look at thorax
arms.
only. This is the thing. I always look at thorax only, but it's like, yeah, you've got like right arm to contend. You shoot that twice, then it's black. Then you shoot the left arm twice, then it's black. Then you're finally shooting through to the chest, and it's like
Right.
1, 2, 3, like 6 shots in, like you're dead already. You're long dead at that point. So, and it's I don't know. That's the issue I think for me
Yeah.
with
No,
it.
I
But
get
like, yeah, if you can get headshots, totally fine. And if you can just spray your way to victory getting headshots, then that's completely okay. It's just right now I feel I'm very like low in confidence about my headshotting ability after like reviewing some of my gameplay and just seeing like how bad it is, because I've been so reliant upon just killing everybody wearing class 4, and I've just become incredibly lazy. So it's like top of my list, I think, to be deliberately training that, I think, for the next like couple of weeks or whatever. Like you need to have something to be deliberately training, and that's my one.
I'd highly recommend picking same gear and gun and just learning the pattern, mastering that relationship of pull down, pull up. That will make your life a lot easier, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We talked about that before, didn't we?
Jumping back to the RPM discussion quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, if anything, if Tarkov SP's realism mod is anything to go off of, BSG could, in theory, implement a system where you could change RPM, because, you know, again, if this realism mod is anything to go off of, which I believe it is, buffer tubes affect rate of fire in real life, and you can actually see it. There's certain moments where, you know, in the game, where if you clip the camera through the stock, you can see the buffer tube actually moving back and forth in the gun when you're shooting it, which is really cool. And the fact that it does that in the game just is like a testament to their like there's no reason to have that actually happen, but like that's just the BSG way of doing things, right? That suppressors increased rate of fire. I believe the shorter AK barrels, like, you know, naturally increase rate of fire, but I could be wrong about that. And then certain muzzle devices, like muzzle boosters, I think they're called, increase rate of fire. And you could do tons of things. You could do some non-realistic things, perhaps, maybe, like have the upper receivers change rate of fire. But that'd be really cool. That'd be a cool thing
It
as
would be
well.
kind of interesting, I think. Yeah.
I don't know if there would be a way to lower rate of fire. I believe
Make the gun really long, like increase the cycle, the cycle time, whatever.
Yeah. But
cool. Okay. So that's basically it in terms of actual gameplay updates.
Right.
The now the fun now the
Now
fun
on to
begins.
the best part of the cast.
Oh my god, now the fun begins. So, all right. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, just because it seems kind of impactful in some ways, and it happened like earliest. We're sort of going chronologically, kind of. Was the it was pretty funny actually. The content creator Sherpa program got disbanded. Now, not a lot of people really knew what this was. It was kind of like one of those things. I can understand why it got disbanded, right? Because like not a lot of people knew what it was exactly. Like I'm not sure if it was really achieving the goals that they wanted to have. But you got
What
like
was
the
the
normal
goals,
Sherpa
you think?
program. I'm actually not really sure.
Okay.
I'm honestly not really sure. But for anybody who doesn't know what this is, you've got your regular Sherpa program, which, as I'm sure you're all aware, people will go into raid with you. They'll like help you out. They'll help you with quests. They help new players basically get into the game because of the steep learning curve, and they dedicate their time to helping these other people. There was a new like wing of this that was opened out. I don't even know when. Like maybe I don't think it was that long ago. So between maybe like 6 months to a year ago or something like that.
Not sure.
Maybe it was longer. I'm not sure. But anyway, the idea was that there were people who could be content creator Sherpas, and well, they were part of the Sherpa program, but they're like in the content creator Sherpa wing, and so that means that they are not directly helping players around the map, but they are creating content designed to help new players, and existing players, experienced players as well. But by virtue of the content that they're making, they're helping the broader player base. And I think the requirements were something along the lines of you have to make like 2 videos a month. Because I think it was mostly YouTube people. There's like 2 videos a month where you're actually making tutorials or guides or whatever it might be. So a bunch of people went and did that because it was relatively easy for them. Like if they were already making guides and stuff, then they could just do that. Because they were already making it. So it's like literally no effort. I think all they had to do is like submit a report or something about what they'd done, and then maybe they did maybe they did like one small session of actual Sherping and something like that. Interestingly enough, I was actually approached to be a content Sherpa at one point, and I said no because I didn't want to feel like my editorial hand was swayed by a third party. I didn't want to like avoid, like I'm not a particularly controversial YouTuber anyway, right? But I didn't want to feel like I had to avoid certain topics because somebody else wanted me to avoid them. I wanted to avoid those topics because I wanted to avoid them, and I didn't want to speak about them or whatever for my own reasons. And I didn't want to have to deal with someone else's or like thinking about would BSG endorse this content at the same time. I just didn't want that as a combination. I never said anything before about it, but given that the program doesn't exist anymore, then kind of whatever. Because I guess I was kind of a prime candidate for it alongside everybody else who's on YouTube, but I just didn't really feel comfortable doing that and wanted to, keep my independence.
Which good for you, by the way. Good for you.
Thank you. But yeah, you got a shiny like Sherpa name in game and all that kind of stuff. But so interestingly, they've got rid of the entire program, and they dumped everybody on Valentine's Day, which was that was the particularly funny part about it. It's just like Valentine's Day, and they like broke up with everyone. There's something symbolic there. It's pretty funny.
I don't know, dude. I feel like some people might feel the wrong way. Like take that. Isn't that kind of a dick move? Like, I mean, it's funny, but like, dude, there's some of these people that I've never heard of. Right? I mean, it's actually very common that someone will get retweeted by a Battlestate Games. I'm like, I've never heard of this person. It's like, oh, they're a Sherpa. Oh, okay. Well, that starts to add up. Like, I've never seen them in my YouTube feed before.
Right.
But like, imagine you're just like, you just got in like a week ago. You think this is your big break. You just got endorsed in the Sherpa program, and then they dump you on Valentine's Day. Like, I don't know. I think it's just kind of weird. I guess maybe it's their humor is a bit different. They're not soft. They're hard. They're bricked up. I don't know. It's just.
I don't know.
It is weird.
But yeah, it was pretty. I think the reason why I found it entertaining was because I saw Friendly Guy's tweet first, and his tweet was super. Like, I don't know. He was just making full jokes about it. So I was like, oh, this is kind of funny. But yeah, I guess I didn't really think about everybody else. Like, and that's the thing. I'm not entirely sure who was in it. Actually, like, I'm not really sure who was a content Sherpa, who wasn't. Like, I'm not entirely sure. Like, some of the people, like, I didn't realize that some of the people were content Sherpas, for example.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess the idea was to like what I think it would where that program really could have been useful. I think is to try and get some of the guys who are like, well, maybe I don't know. I was gonna say try and get some of the guys who are super good to make some educational content like that, because I feel that I know there's like some people in chat talking about Rengar, and say what you like, say what you like about Rengar, but like he's one of the few Chad players,
Right.
like actual proper Chad players, like
Mhm.
really good guys. And Trey's kind of there too, but Trey does a lot of like gameplay stuff. But like Rengar's one of the few like actual Chad players who posts YouTube videos with like actual tutorials. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I do feel like he's one of those the only people that does that, and that's maybe where the idea of this could have been or could have gone better. I think is to try and convince some more of those guys who are in that position to try and make that sort of content to kind of help out at the for the upper echelon of play or whatever. I don't know. Maybe something along those lines. But yeah, I nearly stopped myself halfway through because I'm not entirely sure if that's if I believe that fully, if that would have been a good idea or not. I don't know. But anyway, it is what it is. The BSG decided to get rid of it. I don't think it's necessarily a huge shame in general for the whole community. It's just a very very odd timing.
I mean, ultimately, I think it's a good thing. I don't like, as you said, the idea, having Big Brother battle state games looming threat over your head type of thing. Like, you better, make the content we like, or we're not going to retweet you, or we're going to kick you out of the Sherpa program. You're going to lose. Like, I just don't think that's a good. I'm not sure how much value is in the Sherpa brand. Um, you could be your own independent Sherpa, and outside of that, like, you don't need battle state games, and for them
I
to be
guess
involved in your business that you're running is just, I think it's just
yeah,
not a good idea, in my opinion.
yeah.
Even
Like
someone
he
like Dan Exert is kind of like expressed this in some ways where he feels like, and I'm speaking for him, so I'm probably going to get this horribly wrong, and I'm really sorry, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyways. He may feel like back when Tarkov back in the day, he became a Sherpa. He thought it was going to be a big break, and that may have necessarily not panned out, but like the promise of it looked, really appeasing at the time.
and I see where you're coming from. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. As you say, it's like endorsement and whatever. You're like, oh, I'm
Right.
like recognized as a somebody by BSG. For like whoever it is that might want to do it. And yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. It is interesting. Like,
And I suspect as to why they disbanded. Potentially, I can't say. Honestly, I really don't know. Like, I don't have a good answer. Probably, I mean, honestly, they only know, but I just have a feeling that because, they basically, it kind of got out of hand with all the different content Sherpas, and it became hard to regulate everyone's. Someone like Trey, for example, is pretty like vocal in some of the things they say. So I just wonder if they were just like, all right, this really isn't worth.
that's
They're a
true.
brand risk, in other words.
Yeah,
So
because I guess like if you're just a Sherpa, because most people who are like regular Sherpas
mhm,
typically like from what I've seen, they like typically aren't massive content creators.
right,
Actually, they tend to just be people who like helping out in the community, which is like kind of what BSG wants, I guess. Whereas like as you're saying, right, if you're already your own independent like business, whatever, you're like content creating, doing your thing,
mhm,
and some of that involves hyping up certain topics or talking about like spicy things maybe BSG don't want people to talk about. It's kind of like those things kind of can go at odds with each other.
mhm.
Um, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, I know that like some people lost. I can't remember. Was Tiggs was he a Sherpa at one point? I'm actually not sure, but like
I
he
think
lost his
he
status because of a load of stuff he wrote on Twitter. Whatever status he was given. I think it was Sherpa. He like lost that because of a load of stuff he wrote on Twitter about the state of the
right,
game, and like I know like one peg's like being Sherpa and Hemisphere lost it like 3 times. I don't know. He's just like even up and down with it. So maybe they were just like, we just can't be bothered to police it anymore. Like it's the regular Sherpa program is so straightforward in comparison. We have people like posting spicy takes all over the place. It's like
right.
these guys, you've got decent followers and whatever and viewership. are a pain to manage. So we'll just get rid of it. And it's interesting what you said about you could Sherpa outside of the program, because that's exactly what Nice Guy does, right? He has like a huge he's got like a huge Sherpa system, I think, within his Discord, and you have like different ranks and stuff. It's like a whole Sherpa system that he runs
Yeah.
completely outside of BSG. Like, as you say, you don't need to be affiliated with BSG to do that. You can just do your own thing, and obviously it helps. He's got his Discord and a big platform, big community, but you could be part of that if you don't want to be part of the regular one. You know, it's there's people helping out all over the place, not just BSG sanctioned Sherpa status players. So,
And his Discord is probably one of the best Discords to go look for other people to play with. And part of that, I have to imagine, is due because of that work he put into his own little Sherpa program.
yeah,
So I've been told. I haven't experienced myself, but I mean, I could probably look right now and see there's probably tons of Discord channels full of people.
Yeah, he has loads of people playing on his side, which is, you know, props to him. He's managed to build up. I only know about it because he talks about it in a few of his videos. Really, so yeah, so that's that. Now, anything else on that? Or are we good?
No, I think we're good on that.
What do you think about the next topic? Because you brought it up last week, so I'll let you open it.
Dude. All right, so Monday rolled around. They announced that they are. Let's pull up the official announcement. Let's go ahead and do that. We gotta scroll back on the logs. Surely there's an easy way to find it. Yeah, so like as fate would have it, of course, you know, I come in Friday, I'm really excited. This new program literally just dropped, I think like hours before the podcast started. And I was really excited about it. Looked into it a little bit. Didn't really actually use it yet. But just kind of looked into it a bit. And then I guess it was Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
I remember.
If I can find it. Is it on their actual... Here it is. Yeah. So DW_LUT is now officially blocked due to the large number of uses of specific filters to obtain an unfair advantage. If you have problems with launching the game, remove DW_LUT/files from PC, otherwise the game will be unavailable. And I tested it, and sure enough, if the program is running while you're in raid, it takes about a few seconds, and you get disconnect there, and it'll say, you know, blah blah blah, do not run this program, you need to restart your game, whatever. And they furthermore say in the tweet, there will be no bans for using DW_LUT. Any similar program in the future will be considered as a breach of the terms of service and result in a ban. And I basically saw this and I quote tweeted and called it idiotic because I truly think it is idiotic. So a couple things I want to correct the record for. Last week I said you don't even need the program, you can do this natively in Windows. That is false. I made a mistake. So LUTs you cannot apply natively to Windows. What I was thinking of is applying an ICC profile to Windows / your monitor. Which the difference between a LUT and an ICC profile is basically the ICC profile. I'll use an example or analogy, whatever, first. ICC profiles are like picking the ink for the printer, and a LUT is telling the printer what shades of those colors to print, right? So you could have like, you know, a true red as an ICC profile, or like a different kind of red. But the idea is with ICC profile is you apply it to your monitor to get the most correct color, like the base, for your specific monitor. And you can do all these. It's a whole, you know, thing, field, whatever. There's a whole science behind it. Anywho, so correct. I would like to correct that. And gosh, there was something else I wanted to correct, but maybe it'll come back to me. So, yeah, I think this is just stupid, because man, I don't even know where to start. So, this is like there's so much people just saying absolute nonsense, talking out of their asses, that just like made me just maul, dude, so hard. Like it sounds silly, but I can't believe how like I was really excited for this program because I wanted to go and make my own LUTs for my own like monitor. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm,
tried there's two LUTs that the guy made, right? And one was like high contrast, which was effectively for interchange. I didn't like it on my monitor, and then there was just low contrast, I think, which was like okay, but um, yeah. So I was really excited to make. I was gonna make this whole pack for all the maps, share it to the community. It was gonna be a really fun thing, and then VSG just like shits on me for it, and that really just killed me with Tarkov. Was kind of like the nail in the coffin. I was already having so this wipe, I've probably played the most casual. I'm like just level 30, and that may seem kind of high for some people. I'm not sure, but for me, this is by far the most casual I've ever played. And I just constantly find myself playing and just at the end of it, just not having a good time. And it's so hard to have a good time for me because it's like there's like this dual mentality of like just trying to play the game to have fun, but then you have to deal with all the bullshit that's in the game. And then you're like, well, I'll just play the game to like, win, competitive. And then you still have to deal with the bullshit in the game. And you've already done these things like a million times. Like I've already done shoreline tasks a million times. They're not fun. Oh my god, I had like two tasks that I had to mark the helicopter and something else, and I did it right, but I died. And I've already like had that quest and survived multiple times, but the two quests require you to survive and extract,
yeah.
but you have to do the survive and extract.
Again.
Yeah, like you can't have previously done it. Like it doesn't count. It won't allow you to survive an extract until you plant it, and then you can survive an extract. It doesn't matter if you
Yeah.
already had the quest and survived and didn't do it and didn't plant the marker, which it's just stupid. So I literally went and hatchet run, sat in the bush for 2 minutes, and took the extract because, like, fuck you, game. Stupid quest requirements get stupid completion. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
it's stupid. So I don't have the tolerance or the desire to sit here and basically do mastering recoil patterns. The same gear set, the same loadout. I made a mistake and shot a guy who I kind of got the jump on, but because I was so close, my first mistake was ADSing. I should not have ADS because when you ADS, you're going to get the flip and you can't see your target. You lose sight acquisition immediately. So it's just better to hit
What
fire.
gun?
AK-103. And if any of my other kills of that session was only G36 hip fire. It's just like,
Mm.
of course, hip fire is just the way to go. Um, so yeah, I ended up not killing the guy. I'd probably need like one or two more hits because I was using PS. So skill she grind harder to beat his class 5, I guess. But I'm just kind of over it. So I was trying to like branch out into some other areas of Tarkov. Do some things, but given this change, like I wanted to act like I was really into this idea of coming up with like a video slash solution to a problem until BSG provides a proper solution for the sensitivity differences. And I was really interested in it. And basically I would assume, I mean, I tried looking a little bit at their TOS, but it's a lot of legal jargon that I need a lawyer to help break down some of the stuff. But I'm assuming their TOS, based off what other people have said, which is just all word of mouth, speculation probably. It is so like loosey goosey that they can apply to whatever. I think this is abusive TOS, in my opinion. I really think it does because here's the thing: is it does not at all like the use of unfair advantage is super interesting because for one, it doesn't affect the game at all. It literally applies to your monitor, right?
Yeah.
And the difference between this is the other thing people were saying is like, oh, it's just like NVIDIA reshade or NVIDIA filters, and it's absolutely nothing like it. Okay, reshade. Okay, I did my homework on this because I was like mauling so hard.
Yeah.
Dude. I did my homework on this. Reshade is a post processing application that injects a DLL file into your game. Okay, it's basically a similar function to what a hacking program would do, injecting a DLL into your game. And what it does is it overwrites things like depth of field, uh, anti-aliasing, I think, a couple of different. I wish I wrote some of this stuff down, but you can take an older game or even a more modern game and basically add new post processing stuff into it. Like
Pretty
some of
cool.
it's actually I've used it before in the past. It's just been a really long time, and it's
Mm.
actually changed a lot since then. But the issue with it is because it is open source. Okay, that means that people can do whatever they want with the code as they please, which means you can do some less shady things. For example, you can inject a crosshair into your game, right? You could, in theory, um, with the source code, you could disable. There's this thing called, oh frick, man, I wish I remember what it was called, but uh, let me just see if I can find it. It's like depth. It has to do with depth, and basically you could disable shrubs and certain things. You could disable it with reshade.
Right.
And what Reshade has done with their public releases is, um, if it's a multiplayer game, if it sees a network connection, it disables this def buffer. That's what it's called, def buffer. It disables that when it detects network activity. So that way you can't do some of these more darker things, nefarious things, I should say. So, a lot of companies, games, if you will, have blocked the use of reshade, including Battlestate games, which I personally think I can understand. I can get behind because you're opening up a can of worms, basically. Like, yeah, you can do some really amazing things. You can do some really cool creative things. Um, insane stuff. Like you could take you know change a game into like a 3D retro, you know, neon lights flickering. Like you could do some insane stuff with this. It's
That
actually
looks
really
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
That's interesting though. That is good. I'm pleased that you've said that because I wasn't really sure because I've never
Hmm.
used Reshade and I don't know anything about how it works. So that's actually quite good because I guess I was kind of torn a little bit, being like, well, you know, that if that it's a tricky one because you're like, well, if that gives it advantage, but then we don't like that one because it's too much of an advantage. Like, where do we draw the line, etc., etc. But if it's so cut and dried like that, then that's actually makes it easier, I think.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because Hunt Showdown actually is going through an issue in their community, because they allow reshade. There's like one of the developers said they like wanted to allow it. Like it's just funny how deep this stuff goes. But there's a big hubbub within like the Reddit for Hunt Showdown because some people have this advantage, if you will. Like the game's meant to be played one way, but they're using reshade to completely change parts of the game.
Mm.
So yeah, and like I said, I think it opens up a can of worms. It's just kind of a bad idea. But you say okay, and that's why Nvidia came along as well, and they were like, hey, we're gonna add Nvidia filters, or I think it's called Nvidia Reshade, but Nvidia filters essentially is Reshade, their version of it, with some presets you can use and some different things you can play with to get your game to look a certain way. But again, it's only supported in certain games in their list, right? Only certain games. Whereas Reshade, a bit more, it works a bit differently in that it checks for network detection to disable it for certain games. Anywho, all that being said, what is a LUT then? Okay, LUTs are interesting because I use them, and I do color grading sometimes in DaVinci Resolve, and it's essentially what a LUT is a preset color grading, if you will. Very much so how the post FX works in Tarkov, where you see things like chill wave, things like I can't remember. That's the only one I can really remember. There's Feather, I think is the other one, which is like black and white.
Oh yeah,
The night vision one.
which makes the whole thing even more ridiculous, right? The fact that that exists. Anyway,
Yes, yes. So that's essentially what LUTs are. There's two types of LUTs. There's 1D LUTs and 3D LUTs. 3D LUT. Well, let's start with 1D LUTs. 1D LUTs is basically red, green, and blue, and it's the input outputs, I think. And um, you you can't really transform the color red to a different color. For example, it's sort of just like selecting the maximum output and the minimum output. It has uses. Um, it's very practical or a very like it has uses, but 3D LUTs are kind of like the more advanced version, which is it's quite literally a 3D space, which is it's super interesting. I need to look into it more, but it's as if all the colors are displayed in like a 3D cube, and then you can like
yeah,
manipulate them within a 3D space and shift the hues of certain colors. It's really cool actually, but it's a lot more involved. You have a lot more options you can do. Like you could just lower the highlights, the high frequencies, the high band of red. For example, you could lower that or increase it. You could increase the on the spectrum, the lower parts of the red, the darker parts. You could do the middle parts, which is typically like your lift, gamma, and no, sorry, lift would be the dark, gamma, and highlights. I guess I think that's right.
whatever that's
Um,
called. Yeah,
Anywho, all that said, how the software works, the the GUI is um, it applies a LUT to your monitor. So the argument is commonly made, well, what about NVIDIA control panel? Because it has things like brightness, contrast, etc. I think that's closer to a 1D LUT, which is a lot more simplistic. You can't actually change individual colors. You can change the hue if you want of all the colors, but you can basically only increase brightness and contrast. You can increase slash decrease brightness and contrast. So it's a lot more simplistic. So by their measurements, that's okay, but 3D LUTs aren't okay. It's the whole
yeah. I think
thing just open. I know I've been talking for a lot. The whole thing opens up a can for worms, and if you say, "Oh, well, it's a third party program," yes, it's a third party program for Windows. Literally every program, almost every program on your PC is a third party app. It was like I don't think people understand what they say when they mean third party program, but it literally doesn't affect the game directly at all. So I personally feel like this is just an abuse of power, a breach. I don't know what you would call it, but I think it's just stupid. So okay, this is a great question. Could you in theory get a PMC face, make them lime green? You could, but you are doing that to every color. So like I can't just only change a green PMC's uniform to purple. It's gonna affect literally every green within that. Even if I isolate just a certain green tone pattern, right, or a certain green tone shade, we'll say, um, like a dark green. It's all the dark greens are getting changed.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's different. It's not like model to model. It's not, it's got no, the lot has no understanding of Tarkov, right?
exactly, and that's just like I well, okay. I've been talking for a while, so I'll let you
Okay,
talk for a bit.
okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, all I was going to say was the classic thing about the NVIDIA control panel, right? Is the whole like, yeah, brightness, contrast, like fine, but it's the gamma control in the NVIDIA control panel is like the holy grail, right?
Oh
For
yeah.
fixing the darkness on every map. And I played for the longest time with regular control because I'm pretty lazy when it comes to this kind of
Hmm.
thing. I really am, and I don't like changing it if I can help it. And eventually it was one day. The day that I broke was the day that I had a grenade thrown through the power office window on reserve by I think it was a regular scav through the glass, and I literally could not see them through the glass, and the nade just appeared, and I was like, what? and then yeah, there they were on the other side. That was the day that broke me. And I've hated interchange for the longest time. And my reluctance for not changing any of the stuff, I'm sure is probably part of it, right? And after doing that, it made Underground and Reserve actually possible. So I changed my gamma up to like plus 33% over the regular on my monitor. And the thing about the gamma is that, outside Tarkov is bright anyway. Like the outside stuff is bright when you're out in the day. So having it a bit brighter doesn't really make that much difference. Like it's fine. You just get used to it. Whereas inside, it changes everything from being like everything's dark to the darkest bit is now grey and the lightest bit is now kind of normal. So you end up like rather than everything just being like completely dark, because that's one of the issues I feel about interchange is that the sort of the dynamic range of the coloration inside them all is so low. So you can expand that out by changing your gamma, but you lift the base like up entirely.
Yep.
Like you can't fix the lack of information, right? You can just try and spread it out a little bit better on your monitor.
You're not adding new information.
Yeah, exactly.
You're manipulating this information, which is very like there's not a lot of information, so it ends up looking like, dude. I mean, you can basically what you can do is, as you said, you can lift that very bottom of the spectrum up, and then naturally you're going to introduce a lot of gray into your screen because you're basically increase. And then you can spread the contrast out to reduce that gray, but your colors end up banding really hard. Like you get these awful like purple like lines around like lighting and shadow and like green. Like it looks like a deep fried meme, and it's like there's a trade-off to be had, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel that combination between like. Is NVIDIA Control Panel a third-party program? I mean,
it is, but it's fine.
It is, right? Because it's fine because it's intrinsic to the system, I suppose, right? It's like it's intrinsic to your graphics cards. It's like the driver. It's like basically the driver to. It's like the front end for the driver of the GPU. So basically, it doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't really make any sense. I also feel that this is the wrong side of the line to step. And I do think that we're kind of on a fine line. Like the reshade, I'm actually really pleased you went through all the reshade stuff because that's really important. I think. Feel like most sensible people, and you could have a different opinion. That's fine, but I think most people would understand why reshade might be on one side of the line and why NVIDIA Control Panel and the LUT changer might be on the other side of the line. Because the problem is once you start stepping down this pathway of, oh, it's a third-party program. Oh, someone's got an unfair advantage. Oh, blah blah blah. It's like. Okay, well, one guy's playing with 40 FPS on streets, and the other guy's got 190 because he's got a stints built rig. It's like, well, that probably makes way more difference than the LUT file does. Oh, well, so what? You're gonna have to like, I mean, this is obviously absurd, right? But like, you take it to its logically extreme, and it's just like when you buy a copy of Tarkov, you have it comes with the whole rig and a monitor and a mouse and a keyboard, so that everyone has playing on exactly the same machine. Otherwise, it's it's unfair or whatever. Like this, you can't make everything completely fair.
Do any of you guys use CC Cleaner? Unfair Advantage. Hello, cleaning out your files and closing on one of our apps. Unfair Advantage. Razer.
Yeah.
Razer. I can't remember the name. They have like some program that will disable apps and boot. MSI Afterburner. Unfair Advantage. I
mean, they implemented right.
Stupid.
They specifically implemented NVIDIA Reflex into the game that only works for one set of graphics cards,
right?
Which literally decreases the latency for those people's monitors.
Well, that's probably because they got a check from NVIDIA.
Maybe, but it's like some
agreement
it's
there,
the same stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, so there was a comment in chat from Tactica, which I thought I actually really struck a chord with me, which says basically remember the video Clean made about using third-party audio software to improve the localization of audio and spatial awareness because of how bad the audio is this wipe. Like, I mean, I don't think that really came to anything, but. And they say it's not people trying to gain an unfair advantage. It's the community's solution to an issue. Like, yeah,
exactly.
You could try to get an unfair advantage with it, but the vast majority of people wouldn't bother, right? It's because there's a distinct problem that people are trying to fix on our own because it's another one of those things. It's been like years and years and years and years of the lighting being terrible and blah, blah, blah. So people have eventually come up with solutions on their own. And I feel like the community's maybe actually getting a bit more... almost getting more kind of empowered to do this, to like look for solutions and stuff as well these days, because there's like so many things with the audio thing, especially as it's been so bad.
Well, I feel like this is the problem. I think you hit it right the nail round the head, dude. This was the community's efforts to come up with their own solution. This was not some. I saw some takes on Twitter like, "Oh, I never heard this program. I can't believe people were trying to keep this a secret. I'm glad they banned it." It's like, bro, this was literally when it came out. I caught it on Trey because Trey did a video. Del Hero did a video. The guy that made the LUTs. The app itself is 2 years old. I found the
Right.
OG Reddit post of the creator. He made it
Okay.
just as a generic thing. His purpose was, yeah, he just wanted a LUT applied to his monitor for his day to day stuff.
Mm.
Whatever emails, whatever. I don't know what he did, but it wasn't like a gaming thing, right? Artist Work comes along, and he basically, because it's open source, you kind of just like take it and be like, yeah, I'm gonna do my own little thing. I don't know, there might be some licenses thing, I'm not sure, but anyways, he kind of like repurposed the software. I'm not even sure if he did any real coding. Honestly, I really don't know. I would have to ask him, but I know he did the LUTs for Warzone and Tarkov, and they're just, again, they're just 3D LUTs that you apply to your monitor. It actually goes on a driver level. That was the other thing I was gonna say I got wrong. Is it is not a free cost. It does apply on a driver level to your graphics card, and there is some processing for your graphics card has to do.
Okay.
However, for most people, it is going to be a non-issue simply because more than likely you're going to be CPU. If you're GPU bound, it will be an issue, but most people are probably going to be CPU bound, especially for a game like Tarkov. But anyways, that was what pissed me off the most. Is like he promoted it. He got, because he doesn't play Tarkov. He's played a few times, I think he said, but his one of his good friends, Lucifer192, I think, plays Tarkov and streams it and whatever. So he was like, "Hey, could you also make me some? I know you're like into Warzone and
Oh,
doing
I
this for
see.
Warzone, but could you also do it for Tarkov?" And then they coordinated with Trey and Del Hero to kind of like help boost the popularity because he's doing a free thing. He should get something in return, in my opinion. Whether that's a few clicks on his video or a few follows on his Twitch or whatever. Artist work guys. So it's whatever. So this wasn't like, and it was literally out in 3 days, and I don't understand. I just don't understand. And the only thing I can come up with, right? The only thing that makes sense to me is One Peg. That's the only. I think One Peg stirred the pot. Okay, because he came
Not
out that video.
necessarily incorrectly, though. And this is where it gets slightly complicated. Anyway, I'll let you carry on.
Well, yes. Okay, so because here's how it basically went down. It because it was shared so openly. Some people saw this and simply were like, "Oh my god, it's Nvidia reshade all over again. They're hacking the game, guys! No, stop this! No!" And it was this big hubbub. And then you had like people asking the Sherpa slash emissaries, "Is this allowed? Is this BSG sanctioned?" And then they're like, I don't know. Maybe it's not. You probably shouldn't use it. Oh, it's definitely not. There was so much mixed stuff, and then people were like questioning, like, "Oh, what kind of authority do you have?" Blah blah blah. There was just this big festering shit pool going on. Excuse my
Mm.
language within the community about this thing, and then OnePay makes a video about how BSG needs to be more transparent, essentially, in their communication, and I feel as though that was the catalyst to then ban the thing because what I think is BSG really doesn't, they don't want this drama. They don't want it. So the easiest thing is just to side with their people, the emissaries, whatever. Maybe not even that. Maybe that's not even the case. It probably isn't. But the easiest thing probably is just to like get rid of the problem. So you just press the delete key. You literally add it into your exclusion list um, of exes running, and yeah, I just think it's, for me, it just basically killed any motivation I have to do some type of sensitivity program. Like the baby steps was going to be a spreadsheet and like a formula, and then the follow up was probably going to be a program, a video offering feedback on how they could do a different system, blah blah. But now it's just like, well, BSG is going to do whatever the fuck BSG wants to do. They, you know what I mean? It's just like So why even bother, Giga? Why even bother?
Yeah,
And on
I
top of
know.
that, now what they have done is if anyone does come up with a solution, it's not going to be shared publicly. Why do you want to get your solution banned?
Yes,
You're
that's
you're
very
just gonna
true, actually.
it's gonna be so like I really think this is probably I know it really does in the grand scheme of things. I think it is such a minor like it's such a small thing, but the impacts and ripples of it on a large scale to me, I can't tolerate it, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of like reflects how the whole community and just the content creator space like interacts with the game and with BSG and their takes on stuff and their actions based on a situation. It's like it's just a big reflection of all of that in a little nice little package,
Right,
which is the thing. Like and I'll say it again, like I don't think that One Peg was out of line making his video because BSG are notoriously just silent on a lot of this
right.
stuff, right? They say nothing. But in some ways, maybe that is after seeing this outcome, right? It's easy to say in hindsight. Maybe in some ways that's better because they can like turn a blind eye or whatever. People can just do what they want with certain things, um, and and then that's basically it. Like I don't see a world like once the pressure has been put on them, and it was partly because like I do think it was necessary in some ways to have some sort of coordinated response. I
Yeah.
don't know whether it was just like it should be a coordinated response through the people, through I don't know whoever. I mean, it's just like putting out. The problem is right, putting out the tweet from the Battlestate Games account. How likely do we actually think it is that that's going to say, "Don't worry, everybody, DWM LUT is fine, go for it"? Like, it's just so incredibly unlikely that that's going to be the outcome, which
Why though?
which just makes it so awkward because like once you say yes to that, then people can like you start to open the floodgate. You know what I mean? Like it's so, and as you say, it's so much easier for them to say no. And I think it's the wrong decision, right, to blanket ban this thing. But
Yeah.
I can see why we've ended up like this. Do you know what I mean? Like I appreciate like the path.
Like in other
It's
words,
like
if they were to say, "Yep, this is fine," then that's like free reign on other people to make other things, and then like,
yeah, and then it's like, oh, is this fine? And it's just like something that's but like slightly more. So there's a little bit more. And it's like, well, is this okay or not? And then it gets like grey areas. It makes it really, really tough for them if they've already like staked their position in the ground. It's so easy, and as you said, like I agree with you. It's so easy for them to say just no. Oh no, it's we've been
right,
asked now, so it's no. Rather than just letting it like float on, and then no one really knows whether it's like okay or not. With BSG just turning a blind eye. But this, I don't know. It's just, I do, it's so tricky, right? Because like I don't think what One Peg was in the wrong for saying you need to sort out your communication. You can't have some people
yeah,
saying yes, some people saying no, some people saying
right.
definitely not, some people saying maybe, because that's also terrible.
And
It's just hard.
I agree, and it's so funny because watching that video from One Peg that came out, because that's basically the content I watch now is, for lack of a better word, drama content on Tarkov. Like, I can't. Everything else is, with the exception of some of your videos, I'll watch to see your takes on X gun or whatever. But, yeah, I'm just like, I watched that and I was like, yeah, One Peg's right. They do need to do something. And after that, I'm like, I don't know if I'm more mad at BSG or One Peg. Like, and I'm saying that ironically because I'm really not mad at One Peg, but like I had the
Yeah.
feeling like, damn it, One Peg, like why'd you have to say the thing that's true and that needed to happen?
Yeah,
You
because
know
it's
what I
like if
mean?
you just let them like muddle on, and the community would have been like just confused, they'd been like this, that, and the other. No one would have known whether was good or not, and then it would just like fizzled away into
Oh no, they
the
get.
next thing,
Oh, he's
and
back.
some people would have carried on using it, and some people wouldn't, and that would have been it. Oh, did I just break? Sorry,
They froze for a second.
did I freeze? Yeah, there was a little cutout. I was just saying like yeah, so we could have just like muddled on,
Mm-hmm.
never said anything either which way. The community would have just eventually gotten bored of it and moved on to the next topic. Some people who liked it would have carried on using it. Some people would never have bothered. Some people who didn't like it would have stopped using it, and then that would have basically been it. It would have just like then just rumbled on in the background and been another thing. But because they had their hand pressed, it's like I agree with you about like why this has ended up happening. Right? It's like One Peg quite rightly said you need to sort out your communication. In having their hand pressed, they've just gone. It's like, someone, you're like super
Yeah.
busy and someone's just like, can I do that? Can I?
Right.
And you're like, dude, I'll
Right.
answer you later. Like, I'll answer you later. And they're just like, no, I need to know right now. And you're just like, well, if you need to know now, it's no. Because like, I don't have time to look at it. So just like,
Right.
just go away. Like, it's just no, let's no then. Like, I can't just say no. I can't just say yes, right? I'm just going to say no. So you're going to press me? I'm just going to say no to it. I feel like it's that. So that's why I feel
Yeah.
like it's the wrong decision. But I can see why, from Battlestate's perspective, you've ended up like that. And there are legitimate concerns about future apps and things if you say yes. Like I get that too. I still think it's wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. I think this is the wrong decision. I think this falls on the wrong
Right.
side of the line. But
And
it's
and
complicated.
what you said there is why I'm really torn. Was really torn, especially when they did the first recoil changes, because there was this big. It's the same kind of idea. There's this big hubbub in community about recoil. Because you're like, no, I'm busy. No, I'm busy. No, I'm busy. Okay, fine. 20% flat reduction on camera recoil. Okay, fine. We'll drop these values, and then
Yeah.
and then once everything's fine again, it's like, okay, back to regular programming. And that's where my biggest gripe of Tarkov is. I wish they would come out and say, okay, this is our plan, blah blah blah. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take priority. Number one is gonna be improving the game, improving the game play experience. We're gonna deal with, which they are. Okay, to give them credit, they are working on audio, right? But after that, like, what can we do about X system that's been in the game forever that has so many issues? What can we do about improving some of these smaller grievances? Whether it's quality of life or just improving older systems to sort of enhance the experience of Tarkov. Because my God, man, it's like I just feel like playing this game so casually. I can't like quote unquote casually, for me at least. It's just like becomes such a pain. Um, like just torture simulator, man. And it's like you have to deal with so much crap. Um, Sometimes you get the really fun stuff does come through, but does it outweigh all the crap I had to put out with? And it's like I don't think that's I can't say that's the case. I for me at least. And
Yeah.
and when I look at everything, I look at the landscape Tarkov's in. When I look at their business model, I just worry that the game's gonna be 1.0, and they'll deliver on that promise, and we'll get something. We'll get a product, um, and then it's on to the next, the next project and whatever, and that's fine. Nothing can live on forever. I just don't know if we're ever gonna get. Nothing can be perfect. I suppose it's just it was fun while it lasted. And I'm saying, like, the good times that I had, when I first someone commented, it's like, man, this church guy is really, or I can't remember what they said. I'm sorry, I'm using the voice, but they said something to the effect, oh, I wish you guys would be more positive, blah blah blah. And it's like, bro, if I started the podcast when I first started playing Tarkov, oh my God, it would be nothing but me, you know, just gushing about this game, because COVID hit. I literally played this game for like 6 months, dude, nonstop, man. It was bad. Like, joined mid wipe, played the full entire wipe. It wiped, played the full entire wipe again. It was great. There was a lot of good times, and there is a lot of fun to be had in Tarkov when you're trying to learn the systems. You're presented with opposition, and you have to overcome that. But as a seasoned veteran, I feel that what's happened is those oppositions become tedious task, and what gets thrown at you is the bugs, the underdeveloped systems that you have to put up with, that you think could be improved at least, but they're not prioritized, and it's tough, man. It's tough. So
Yeah, it is tough.
I'm 3,000 foot view. I got my fun out of it. I regret buying 2 accounts. That was a big mistake. Um, and I wish, once 1.0 comes out, we'll see. Basically, my two things I'm waiting for is 1.0 and any major changes to, like, improvements on the quality of the game, like whether that's new systems get developed or improved, or addressing some of the major bugs. I mean, like a lot of people are talking about visible players. I've only had it happen once, the swipe where I died to one, but who's to say I wasn't invisible to someone? You know, who's to say that someone wasn't invisible, like was invisible, and I didn't see, like we didn't cross paths, you know, type of thing. But I know it's kind of an issue. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think between the invisible stuff and the audio, a lot of people are like not wanting to play at the moment because there's just too many like weird inconsistencies and like too many things going wrong right now, which is fair enough. I haven't had that much of it myself. I don't think it affects solos as badly. I mean, that's just like completely anecdotal, but it doesn't really seem to. I mean, I just wanted to like say one final thing because while you were talking, I was like thinking about stuff about this DWN LUT thing because I didn't really come to a sensible conclusion about like what I actually think BSG should have done. And sometimes the right answer is the hard answer. And in a completely different universe where Tarkov's created by a developer that doesn't have the same attitude that BSG does, rightly or wrongly, you could almost imagine a situation where something like this comes out. They go, okay, we haven't fixed our lighting, and lighting's like, you know, it's not on our priorities right now. The priority that we're trying to fix is the audio, number one. We're trying to get rid of the, number one, trying to get rid of the invisible players, like fix that. Then fix the audio. Then like try to, you know, optimize Streets of Tarkov for people. And then maybe we'll get around to lighting and fixing interchange or whatever afterwards. So in the meanwhile, someone's come out with this solution. Let's work with the guy and like put it in as a filter, you know, so that like the stuff that he's come through, like, you know, let's get some presets together and like and build some out. And so in the meanwhile, we'll say, look, we're banning the program, but we've temporarily introduced it into the EFT. Like, this is a complete, like, this is probably total pipe dream rubbish, right? Because like how impossible would it be to actually implement it into the game? I have no idea, right? But that's the correct answer to the question about this DWM LUT, right? It's like, okay, we'll take the best parts about it and we'll incorporate it ourselves in a way that someone's already done most of the, well, I guess maybe they haven't done the work incorporating it into the game, so maybe that's not really the same. But it comes back to the argument that I've made a million times about the modding community, whereas BSG is like completely allergic to the modding community, right? And like those guys are like using and you've talked about it a bunch, right? But so we're not going to go into it too much. But those guys are using the same game. They're programming stuff into the same game. And I know there's like code control and all this stuff that you need to do and whatever. But like I'm sure a lot of the base work is done already. And these people would work with BSG if they were asked. I'm sure. Like I've been recently, in my downtime,
They honestly don't even have to. Sorry, they don't even have to work with them. Yeah. A lot of this stuff is open source. Like the modders will post their source code on GitHub, so they could just literally, rip it. It may not all be, copy paste, just because of how our Tarkov SP functions in some ways. But anyways, sorry.
I'm sure there's things that they would need to do though to get it in right. You know what I mean. But anyway, absolutely. So like. In my downtime recently, I've been playing, or I started playing Factorio.
Oh yeah,
which I've like not played ever. And literally everybody who I've ever spoken to has just been like, "Hey, this is your game. Like, you be careful about it. If you start playing that game, you got to be really careful." Everyone's literally said that to me. But I was literally looking up the team, and it just made me really sad because there was like one of the guys. I don't know. I was just like, "Who are these people? Like, do they make anything else?" I was just like browsing, just like seeing, what they've done. And one of the guys on the like roster of the programmers was some guy from the US, and it's like, his all-time favorite task is performance optimization. He's very active in the modding community and on the Factorio Discord. Like, it's on their website. And I was like, it just like that, it just made me so sad because I was like, man, like if only BSG had that relationship with the modding community, or they were like at least open about it or something. Like, there's so much of the stuff they could be helped, I'm sure, with this kind of thing. And this got me thinking about that, partly because I like read that. And then I was thinking about this thing, and it's just like someone's done some work that alleviates a problem that they haven't actually had to do anything about. And it's like, you may want to change the lighting later. Just like, do this. Do this. Like, take it. Like, do something. Like, surely you can incorporate it in. Like, you guys, you're smart people, right? It's like maybe there's a way. Anyway, the easier answer is to just say no. So I mean, look, I caveated at the beginning of the cast that it was going to be like, fairly negative because I disagree with BSG's take on quite a few of these different topics and some of the things that have come up in the community right now. For one, I'm actually still really enjoying the game. I still take the how do you call it? I like take the try to take the game as a whole, and like there's a lot of stuff that we focus about, like the change, the differences between one patch or another, the differences between one wipe and another, the changes that the forwards, backwards of this, that, and the other. And it is in a pretty awkward state, but like there's a lot of stuff that works well, and like I still enjoy myself a lot playing the game. So for me, I'm not like, there's two sides to it. It's when I'm playing the game, I'm not really thinking about any of this stuff. But I think a lot of this that annoyed me was more like the community stuff and like the way that these things are treated, and the ongoing sort of development and yada yada, that kind of thing, as opposed to like the game itself. But yeah, there are some awkward things happening in the game for sure compared to previous wipes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And like I can give him a pass on audio, honestly, because it's new territory, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm more lenient on that, but like I almost feel like Tarkov SP kind of ruined Tarkov for me because I know things can be better. You know what I mean? Like I can't say that objectively, but I mean, I would like to present an argument objectively, but anyways, yeah. So it's just like, damn, you know what I mean? Why is this some of this stuff just not prioritized? Because that's kind of my biggest issue is I'm constantly getting screwed by, not constantly getting screwed by these, but like when I get screwed, when these things happen that aren't, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just it makes it really difficult to see the the bright side of things, like,
Yeah.
oh yay, I got my task done.
Yeah. I just feel for me like, the stuff that people complain about a lot, like, I'm not like a Shift W super chat or whatever, but like the things that annoy me are the things that affect me the most directly in the game itself. And people like, I feel like people gripe a lot about like some things that are not really that important. Like,
Well, like
sometimes
what's
they get the
something-
hand. Let's say sometimes I get the hands bug with the CMS kit, right? It's
Okay.
like it happens very rarely, and it's just like, okay, it happened, and it's whatever. Like either we died or we had to hold it 4, and it's funny, fine, whatever. The things that annoy me more are the things like I said previously. My least favorite bug in the game is the bullet snapping, because that like directly affects gameplay and it affects it in a serious way. Audio, I can manage with it, honestly. Like it's bad. It's not as good. It's not as good as it was with Steam Audio, and up and down is pretty bad. But using like where things are in the map, you can usually tell where people kind of going to be. You're like, okay, well, they sound like they're next to me, but like they're not there, so they're upstairs or whatever. And like front back is really bad, but like it's manageable. But like the bullet crack thing probably annoys me the most. But for the rest of the time, I don't feel like I die because of bugs. I don't feel that I get killed because of bugs, or I get like the quest, I couldn't complete the quest because of bugs or whatever. Like I find like most of the time I didn't play the game. I don't know. I think people complain a lot. Not to say there's not stuff wrong. And like that's the thing, the invisibility thing, if you're actually getting that as a squad or whatever, that's super problematic. Right? That's really, really painful. The most brain dead take that I've seen in general on Twitter has been that you can't fix the invisible bug, but you ban the community helping like LUT thing in 1 second. It's just like, because it's easy, right? Like,
right. Yeah, I'm gonna say it as well. I think again, I hate the takes where it's like, oh, they banned the LUTs, but they won't ban the cheater. It's just like, shut the fuck up. So stupid, honestly. Yes. Like, just shut the fuck up. Which has been great because it's really allowed me to see people's true colors. And it's just been like, okay, mute. Don't need you in my feed. So that's been really cool. One positive, but yeah, I mean, like I said, man, it's just like, imagine like, okay, let's say you have a list of bugs and systems that need to be improved and refined because there's issues with them, right? Yeah. And let's say the worst of it is audio at the top, right?
Yeah.
And at the bottom is all the other stuff, right? So it's like, let's say you get cucked by some of the smaller things, right? It's like, oh, that's annoying, but you're always dealing with the audio issue. So it's almost like the small thing was the straw that broke the camel's back. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like for me, that's how I would.
What kind of little things? Like I'm intrigued. Like what kind of stuff? Do you have like specific things?
Recoil, Giga. I don't have the patience to sit here and min-max the game recoil system. I don't have the patience to build my G36 exactly the same it is every time, okay? Because you can do that, dude. Like, this wipe, I've probably...
Exactly.
Well, And the skill part is a time commitment, right? You probably spend 20 or 30 minutes in the shooting range just mastering your pull down spray, right? You
Yeah,
follow me? And
I am. But
and
like, I.
well, hang on.
Okay,
And
all right.
and I'm gonna get to it, but so I could do that, right? And like I said, money has not been an issue. I've probably been operating on less than 100,000 rubles simply because, you craft stuff, you click the menus, you do the bar trade, you sell it, you make more money, you do a scav run, whatever. I mean, but it's kind of just like tedious, busy work. You follow me? Like nothing's really at stake. Um, but you just kind of have to do these things. Like if you don't do them, you're missing out on free rubles, but they take time to do. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's really annoying when I have two crafts in my hideout that I need to collect, and I know I should go in there and collect them and start new crafts, and it's gonna take me 5 minutes because it takes 5 minutes to load a hideout. The everything's got to load up and shit like that. So it's just these tedious little things that you should be doing that give you basically free money to help you play the game, but it's like you know what I mean? Like how much value is that really adding to the game? And so it's like you got that, and then the recoil is just like, oh my god, I just have to like basically before I play a raid, spend 20 minutes mastering this pattern. But as soon as I go into raid, I'm gonna panic and mess up. So you need to like play a lot to build it up. And you got all these different patterns for the same gun. And it's the same pattern, but the range up and down is different. And it's just like I don't have the time for this stuff. And when one of these things, annoying things, cucks me, I'm already like frustrated that I have to go in the hideout, collect stuff. I just want to get back in the raid and do my quest so I can get mechanic 3 so I can, progress and do the game. And that's what I'm saying is like for me, I understand audio is really hard, really complicated, probably harder and complicated than I can even begin to understand. There's that paradox where like you think you know something, and then when you start learning about it, you realize how much you really didn't know about
Yeah.
it. But these smaller things, Giga, you cut those off, and because like I said, I can understand audio is really hard. I can understand cheaters is a really big issue. You know what I mean? I just don't understand why you can't spend some time refining either your quest, your design, and how you want the game to be played, the recoil. You know what I mean? Because as I said, I've seen, things like scav shooting you through bushes. The modders found a solution for that. You know, I've seen a recoil system and a modding system that's super in depth, and in my opinion is far superior than what BSG has. And it's just like, oh, I can't gush about it any more than I already have. But it's amazing, and it's great because you don't have to sit there, play the game a lot to master this weird pattern. It's very simple. You shoot gun, you full auto too much, the gun becomes more sporadic. It gets hard to control. So it's very simple. You point and shoot. You do your thing, and it's just yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. It's just I want to play it and I want to like relive the glory days, but I think that's what a lot of people that are like Tarkov quote unquote veterans end up becoming. Because last fight I played a lot to my surprise, and I think that it was like, because we weren't doing a lot of stuff during the end of the last swipe for the channel, Airwings channel, content wise. So it was kind of like, well, what else am I gonna do? Purposely aiming to play the game. But
you know what? That's useful. That's useful. So because that's the thing, people always talk about bugs or whatever, and like this is more. I feel like I can kind of like split. So there's bugs and things which are like the biggest issues, and then you've got two elements of game design, which is where the issues are. It's a game design problem, really, not anything else. It's like preferences and like dissatisfaction with the way that the game is, created, the way that the game is portrayed, and the things you have to do in that game. I feel like those are split into two things. One set which is valid, which I can understand. Well, like they're both valid, right? They're both valid. But what I think one is like objectively, like more people can agree with, I guess, which is that Quest could do with a rework, this kind of thing. Like some of the systems could do with some tweaking and to make them better, right? Like the recoil system could be changed, that kind of thing.
What do you mean? The quests are fine. Skill issue, get good.
The other set, I do actually feel that there's a little bit of like you're used to playing the game at a high level and like used to playing it exclusively, and moving to like a more casual state of play, knowing that you can play in a more optimized way, or knowing that you should really go and like learn your recoil pattern, or knowing that you need to go and do the hideout, whatever. That's really annoying to know that like that ceiling is there and that you're not meeting it if you don't do all those things. It's like it's a really frustrating thing to know that that's there. And not like, for me personally, I don't think that's necessarily as like, I don't think that's necessarily an issue. Like it can be if the design is bad, but just because like you could go and do all these things doesn't necessarily mean that like you have to, and you can still enjoy the game without doing those things for sure. But
you don't
you're
have
a very
to,
pragmatic player like me, right? So like it's frustrating you don't do that kind of stuff.
You don't have to collect your hideout crafts, but you can. Sure, you could just willingly gimp yourself. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to like practice your spray pattern. You can really gimp yourself. And this is the part that I think adds to the issue is because there's no skill based matchmaking. Or even gear based matchmaking. Like in CS:GO, for example, you have these things where like it is very good practice. People will play, go into like the server design to like warm up and like practice your patterns. It is very good practice in those things, but you have the skill based matchmaking. So whatever skill you're lacking, it could be a mechanical skill or a knowledge based skill, you could say. You'll get matched with people with similar issues. So if I'm a person that doesn't practice my mechanics, my skill may be rated at 43 percentile, but I'll be matched with people within that range of 43 percentile. Whereas Tarkov, that's not the case, man. I'll get Timmy's or Giga Chads, and it's like I don't play this game enough to compete at this high level anymore. You know what I mean? Last wipe, yeah, maybe, sure, but it's just like from playing more and more casual, I just feel like the game, and I've heard this a lot, and I think I'm starting to understand it more, is like the game does not respect my time. It's like it almost feels like this is what Tarkov is from a design perspective, is it truly is, whether it's partly intentional or not, is it just like it's a pure pain simulator. And I think it's designed that way. It's kind of genius from a marketing perspective, because how many people do you get in your chat? It's like, I don't want to play. I just want to do scav runs and watch you play and watch you experience pain. And part of that pain is the bugs. Part of it is truly by design, I guess. I don't know, but
yeah, I don't know. I do feel that even me, like, you just have to draw a line, right? It's just like, I don't min-max my hideout all the time because it's really annoying. Like sometimes I have Tarkov shut because I just hate seeing the notification. It distracts me from the work that I do in the day on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's annoying. Like if I'm writing a script and I see the freaking thing pop up, then like, oh, here scavs have returned. Like I'm going to go and buy a moonshine and recycle it, right? And then I'm like, all right, what was I doing? Like it's really annoying. So like I purposefully like probably just don't do those all the time because it's like painful. I could run scav runs all day just through factory if I really wanted to like max my money or whatever, but like it's all going to get wiped anyway. So like I'm kind of now at this point where I'm much more chilled about that kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, I could go in and like check the recoil pattern or whatever, and like maybe it gives me an advantage against the next person, whatever. But like, or I could just go in and play and like maybe I'll win, maybe I'll lose. Like I'm so much more like laissez-faire about it now. And like especially when it comes to the quest, like I've just kind of drawn a line in the sand. Like I'm definitely not getting Kappa this wipe, absolutely not. And I was pretty certain of that fairly early on. I kind of wanted to go for Lightkeeper, and seeing the quest line for that, I'm like absolutely not going for that either. Like I've been talking about this with chat a lot actually. Like I'm not doing any more quests that you have to kill PMCs in a specific spot where you basically just have to like sit around waiting for people to turn up. That's like my line in the sand. And that doesn't respect my time at all. And I don't think it's good content either. And I'm just not going to do it. So I've decided definitely that's not happening. So like Shooterborn in Heaven is not happening. So where I draw the line is probably Tarkov Shooter Part 8. Like I actually kind of enjoy Tarkov Shooter Part 8. I feel like you have agency. Like, yeah, people can leave the map and it's like, it can be really tough, but like you can chase shots, you can run after people. Like I've typically had a good experience with Tarkov Shooter Part 8 in general. Whereas like Shooterborn in Heaven, capturing outposts, killing players around the this one lamppost on, lighthouse or whatever, like those quests are so bad. I'm just not going to do them. And so I'm basically going to just do my usual thing, get up to max traders or whatever. And then do my YouTube stuff, which is looking at different builds and like and that's where I find most fun is like they make some changes and I'm like, okay, so what are we gonna do? It's like how do we beat class 5 now? Like what ammos can we actually get? Like what's the best way to like get those ammos? And that's where I like extract my fun out of the game and for my like personally, because I've always done things that way. And just like getting better as well, getting better at just aiming and shooting and
Which
that kind of thing, and like working on different stuff, bits of the maps, map knowledge, and whatever. That's kind of always where, that's where like I'm trying to focus now, because like I don't play enough either, right? Really, like I pushed super hard at the beginning of the wipe, and then I always pull back because it's like, well, I either make less videos, or spend less time on them, or I play more, or I like see my family less, or whatever, right? It's like it's just like it's a constant balancing act. So I'm level 37. I'm not like super like far ahead, because I only play on stream like 3.5 hours, like 3 days or whatever. So I only play like 10 hours a week once I stabilize after the first like 2 weeks or something. So I guess maybe I'm used to it or something, or maybe I've like got to that.
well,
I've sort of come more naturally to that, or like I guess like I mean, yeah, sorry to just keep going, but like
no, you're good.
I guess like the thing for me is that I've never been a Giga Chad, because I've never had the time to like just like mainline the game. I think that's like one of the things that maybe is an advantage in some sense. I'm just so used to the way that this plays. Like I'm playing more now than I used to, right? So it's it's kind of weird.
Yeah. I would say I think it's because you make content for it. Doing those things is like, you know what I mean? Like a casual player may not necessarily, like there's kind of a benefit for you to do some of these things. You know what I mean? For like your business side, which kind of like for me kind of skews the perspective a bit. And then I would actually disagree in that I think you should stream your capturing outposts. Because I was watching Airwing last night do capturing outposts, where he was literally just AFK talking, but he had like 300 viewers. I mean, that's kind of normal for him now, but it's kind of surprising. And I really think that there's just something about people. It's a really kind of a messed up thing, but like people watching other people like streamers suffer. It's kind of weird, dude. Because he was
chatting stream with Tarkov in the background.
Yeah, but he's not having a good time. He's not really enjoying himself, right? Like this is not ideal. Him camping, sitting back, like, oh, this is like the 9th attempt, just waiting for a PMC to walk here. But like chat's like, talking to him and stuff. I mean, it's I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing with Tarkov. But anyways,
maybe. Anyways, there's actually a few other bits. There's a few other bits. God, I actually feel so demoted. Oh, God.
I'm sorry. Okay, I really am sorry.
Like, it's not your fault, Church. It's not your fault. It's just like the way that this week's been. Honestly, this week it's been. I don't know. It's just like the way that the things have come through. Have just been kind of like, I don't know. Something. The vibe has been bad. Let's put it that way. The vibe has been bad, and it's made me feel a bit sad about things. Even though I am enjoying the game, I'm enjoying streaming it, I'm enjoying making my YouTube videos, but like just opening up Twitter and just seeing all the crap is just like, I might need to take a break or something from just like the social media side, because like I enjoy the stuff that I do in Tarkov. This is the crazy thing, right? I love the stuff that I do. It's really fun. Like I've been looking into all these different things and like different bits of the ballistics model and blah 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 blah. But like all this community stuff is just like causing me some. I don't know. It's starting to start. I'm normally pretty immune from this, right? It's starting to cause me some suffering. It's painful. Yeah. Anyway, before we run out of time, onto the next thing. So Trey and I think Clean have set up a new cheater reporting endeavor.
I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh at this one, dude. I think it's hilarious.
Where you post a video of a cheater in Discord, and there's some strict requirements of like you have to have the clip, and you have to have their name, and you have to have the raid code, and yada yada yada, all the stuff that you would need. And they then go to a big group of experienced players who like look over the clips, and then they kind of put together a pack of people who they think are like definitely sus, or like not even sus, like definitely cheating. And then they send those off to like BSG BattleEye, whatever, and then they do with it what they want. And I think I understand the idea of it, right? Which is that the BattleEye kind of like big data side of it, which I suppose is the way that most of it is running, right? It's like checking for programs and doing some of the things we talked about on a previous one. That's like clearly not working for some of the most like egregious hacks, right? Which is most obviously detected by actual people watching Aladdin flying around, just like or whatever. Like if those things are just somehow slipping through the net because of the way it's been like coded, then like sure, you can report it to this scheme. Now, like tons of people have been crying all over the place again. Like I just need to take a break from Twitter, honestly. About like how well it's going to be like false bans all over again. Oh, it's Rengar, it's just like memeing all over everything. And I think the point is that unless it's like pretty cut and dried, they're not sending them off, right, for a start, and that there's like teams of people looking at this stuff. And I don't know. I don't think anyone's got like a vested interest in. Like it's not the same thing as like someone you get killed on stream and then like you go like, oh yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same thing.
Well, I don't know, because clean. I think this is the case. I too have experienced the Twitter thing. Like, yeah, it's a kind of a toxic thing because I was so pissed off on Monday about the let stuff being dealt with that I wanted to like get even more pissed off in a way and be like, oh yeah, screw you, you're an idiot, you know what I mean? But anyways, supposedly from Trey's word of mouth, from Clean's word of mouth, that BSG are okay with this, right? Which is kind of weird to me, but I guess it is free labor, so you do have that. I think
there is a big advantage of human labor in this kind of thing in some ways. In some sense.
No, for sure. Like
doing both is like better, I guess.
This is like a very Valve typical thing. Is like someone's doing the work for you. Why would Valve ever like come in and take over? Like they're already doing the work. Why what I mean? So I don't know. I think the whole thing's kind of cute, honestly. I've heard that out of like the first 17 that came in, 2 of them were like, confirmed. The majority others were like, bro, you died to a raider or like a rogue or something, So and if Valve is anything to go off based off their data from the Overwatch, CS:GO Overwatch days back when it used only humans to do the work, it was a 15% accuracy rating. So again, I just like, I mean, sure, if these guys want to do all the man work, and if they think it's gonna help, and maybe it will help, I just think it's cute. They're taking matters in their own hands in a way. It's kind of like, and I guess BSG's okay with this, but it's just weird.
Yeah, I just don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, the one part that makes it kind of awkward, and I get it, right? I'm not really criticizing here, but there was a couple of questions that were asked that I've seen around, and the response was like, well, obviously we can't tell you because if we tell you how we're doing it, then people can like look around it, right? And it's like, I get it, but that's very unfortunate. You know what? Because the thing is, people worry about false bans more than anything else. I think that's the thing people worry about. Like somebody getting false banned, and I don't think it's a 0 probability. Like even if they send off, like, even if they send it off to like, it's just a complicated thing. It's like if they're sending it off to BSG and BattleEye for them to look into the account or whatever. Like what, I don't know. Like who knows? God knows what they're doing. Like if BattleEye hasn't come in the first place, then what are they going to do, right? And then is somebody going to like review it from BSG? They're going to look over the stats of their raids or something, like internally or whatever. Like, I don't really know. Like, if they're not,
do they even do it? And BSG's like, yeah, send it to this email. Yeah, it's just like
email. I can see it going both ways. That's the thing. Like, I really want it to be great, and I really want it to work out and be like, okay, well, we've picked out these like 5 or 10 people who are like obviously hacking, like in a really really obvious way. You go and they like either ban it or whatever, like they go and look at their account, but then BSG uses the information of these like super obvious bans as some kind of like, it gives them the ability to flag up the things that, okay, this is across cheater accounts, this is the kind of stuff that we're not using currently in our metrics that's really blatant. We could use this and add this to our general anti-cheat system or whatever. That's like the one positive that I could think maybe come out of it. But it requires BSG to do some work too. I think that's the thing. It's like the worst scenario would be that people get like false banned because of it. I don't know if that's really like possible, but yeah, like anybody getting false banned sucks. And I was talking with chat the other day about how Tweak, he like killed someone with an arse ass that one time and
Mhm.
got banned because from the other guy's perspective, he was like flying out of the
Right.
balcony or out of the window, or whatever it was. But it was like some weird bug on his screen. Nothing of the sort happened. It's like you just can't sift through those kind of things. And it's like, okay, well, it's not us doing the banning. We're sending the thing onto the BSG and to the Battle Eye. But I don't know.
I just
We
think
just don't know, right? We
it's
just don't know. And
another.
BSG have a terrible reputation with false bans, dude.
Yeah.
Like it happens again and again,
Yeah.
and like and the number of people that you see, so many people in the community, you don't know whether they're telling the truth or not. You just can never know. So many people being like, "Yeah, I got banned. I just like whatever. I just don't play Tarkov now. Like that's just it. Like I never did anything wrong. I just don't play anymore." And I can well believe that there's a lot of people out there because we had Goat's thing with the motherboard stuff,
Mhm.
and they fought hard to like fix all of those. You get various streamers who get banned all the time for like various things, like, and it's happened like time and time. Oh no, it wasn't a manual ban. We don't have a manual ban process, and then it happens again, and then it happens again, and then it happens again. It's just like,
Yeah.
God damn it, guys! So like these
I
processes, I think they've lost a lot of trust with the community. So I don't know. People are very skeptical, and rightly so.
I just think based off looking into VacNet that like the anytime humans are involved, it's just going to be a bad thing. We're flawed. We are emotional. Okay. Someone's going to get false banned eventually. And do you know Oddbod? Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah.
So
Is he banned?
yeah. So he came. I've seen him on Twitter, and he came to my chat the other day. And apparently, I mean, I doubt he. I'm gonna take him for his word, but again, that's just his word. So he was banned for account sharing, and someone hacked his Tarkov account through like his Gmail or something, and basically BattleEye is just giving him the cold shoulder. I mean, this is pretty standard. You can imagine how many people are crying to BattleEye, like, I was false banned. Please look into my account. When that obviously wasn't the case. We had someone in my friend group who was banned for RMTing. They were a recipient of RMT, and you get like a 60-day or 90-day ban, like temp ban, and they try to appeal, and they're just like impossible to get up with. And when you finally do, they're just like, go talk to BSG, and then BSG's like, go talk to BattleEye. Like you just get flung around. So that really sucks for people that get false banned, and I think it's only a matter of time with. And this is just another PR disaster. Like as you said, it already seems like BSG, like there probably is some manual banning on some parts from BattleEye from BSG. I would assume, right? Because like BattleEye itself is not a human manually banning people. No, it has a list of things it looks for certain behaviors, right? You know what I mean? It's systematic, right? So I don't see why you want to, like do more human stuff, especially when like I guess a lot of people don't know about it. I don't know, but from seeing Valve's experiment with basically using human labor to operate bans, that failed. It failed horribly, and it was talking with I played with Bad at Video. We played CS:GO the other day because we he was like, "Oh no, you don't want to do an Overwatch system. It's the worst time." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I just watched like this 2 hour. Like you need to watch this video." He's like, "No, trust me, it's really bad." I'm like, so we finally talked, and he was referring to the days back when it was only humans doing the manual views, and it was awful.
Mm-hmm.
There was cheaters everywhere. Like it didn't help at all. So yeah, I that's why I say I think it's cute. Like I mean, cute that they're like Trey's really passionate about Tarkov, like really passionate. So that's why I use the word cute, because it's cute. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, and I hope it works out. But I'm also a realist, and I just don't think it's gonna be another PR disaster, man. It's going to happen. Give it enough time.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like I can see positives coming out of it. This is the issue, right? I can see positives coming from it, of which those results will probably never ever get seen, for good reason, by the community, right? No one will ever see if it worked, really. Like, will you really notice less cheaters in your own specific raids? Like, will you ever be able to
I feel
tell?
less cheaters.
Yeah, like it's just not something you can ever know,
Right.
right? And like
I know.
BSG maybe like,
Confirmation
oh, we
bias.
banned like all these people or whatever. Like
Right.
maybe, but like are people actually gonna feel it? I don't know. But as you say, there's a lot of downside. Like yeah, sure that people are trying something. So I hope to God that there's not some like massive scandal, like loads of people get banned, or I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll be good for picking out those really egregious hackers. I'm not sure. The like ones that do slip through, but they're able to do all sorts of funny stuff, and they're like and they're obviously cheating. People who are just like rage hacking the VoIPers, the name and the KD or whatever, and
Right.
the fly hacker guys. Like
Yeah.
maybe it'll help with those. I
And
don't
I
know.
would love to see the data on, you know, some of the stuff. I mean, we just won't be able to. But that's kind of thing is like you can't tell me, someone will be like, "Oh, BSG aren't doing anything about the cheaters." I'm like, "Show me the data." Like you can't.
Mm.
And I can't show you that they are doing anything about cheaters, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see the numbers. It would be super fascinating. But from what I've seen, Battle Eye is extremely one of the most not invasive, but like what's the word? Strict, I guess. One of the more stricter anti cheats out there. There are lesser, like I guess easy anti cheats, like not that it's less protective, but it's just not as strict. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I'm like I said, wish them the best of luck. But I will also be
Yeah.
eating my popcorn as well.
We shall see. We shall see. The final piece related to this, which has literally come out. Well, it seems like today. Is it? I think it's today. Which is that a long time ago now, BSG were talking about boosting an RMT and people being careful about giving stuff to other people. And it seems like we don't know this for sure yet, but it seems like today they decided to start uh, activating some of these blocks or whatever. And you mentioned it before that you get a 60-day temp ban for
It's either
being an
60 or
RMT
90. I
recipient,
can't remember.
something like that.
Yeah.
And it does seem that it seems that some people have started receiving these for. It's not quite clear at the moment whether it's like viewer kits specifically, or whether there were some people who got like spiked from viewer kits from people who were RMT providers, and they got like banned because of that. I don't know. Anyway, so at the moment, it seems that like Terratex and Vibin, like some of the highest level people, those two guys have just taken a 60-day temp ban for like RMT recipient, so it seems, which is pretty nuts. And I think like yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where that stands right now, but like yeah, one page just put a video about it out on the YouTube.
Mm.
The deal is right now is just basically like don't take any viewer kits if you're streaming. Oh god, it's just like so awkward. I don't know. It's just weird, right?
Well,
I
I mean, not even if you're streaming. How many times in my group have we played? Sevens knows this, and someone's TK'd someone by mistake, and they'll bring their kits out, drop it to the next raid, or be like, "No, just ditch my stuff for insurance. I want you to bring me this kit, because we're, a bunch of guys, we're bickering, having a
yeah.
good time, whatever, But it's just like, yeah, for the average person as well. How many times well, I guess you can't drop keys anymore.
Yeah. You
There's a
can't
lot
drop
of things
keys,
you
but
can't drop. So it's basically
hmm.
mainly gear, but you want to help your buddy out. It's like, oh my god, can I just give him class 4 armor so he has a chance against the scav with a Taz, you know what I mean, or whatever. It's
Yeah,
just,
which I presume is fine, right? But I think the viewer kits thing
well,
maybe
how
has
could
got
it be
people
fine
caught because
with the
well, I
viewer
think like
kits?
well, the thing is we assume it's fine. We don't know where the line is drawn, and this is
Oh,
a
I see what you're
this is
saying.
really problematic. Viewer kits are probably an issue because the person who's delivering the viewer kit goes like completely naked from being fully geared. So that probably is where it gets picked up. Like if you bring in your own armor and you drop some dude's rig, like that's probably going to be fine, right? But I don't know. I don't know any more than anyone
Well,
else.
I think what you said earlier is probably most likely the case. Is they find the person that's RMTing the seller, and if that person interacted with Vibin and dropped them stuff, that's how Vibin gets flagged, not necessarily
Yeah.
for dropping viewer kits. I assume that's probably the case, but we could be wrong. I mean, and that's the thing. You don't know if one of your friends if someone in your group is RMTing on the side for a little cash, you wouldn't really know. And they drop you a kit or any item really that they brought. Like,
Yeah, I
would you
mean,
get flagged? It's like, I don't know.
that's the
I,
thing for like the
I
biggest streamers though. It's like the most obvious like troll, spike ban for like 2 months, right? You go like, oh, I
mhm,
just like come in. Oh, can I give you a viewer kit? Oh yeah, cool. And then you know that you're like hacking on the account or whatever,
yeah.
like doing RMT, and then they get freaking banned for RMT. It's like the sort of hateful troll behavior. Like
Right.
it's
Right.
so easy. So now nobody should really be taking any viewer kits from anybody because like you have no idea who these people are, right?
But
Really.
here's the crazy part. If you kill someone that was an RMTer that brought stuff in the raid and took their loot out, would you get banned?
I don't know.
Because you'd be flagged. I'm just
I
saying,
don't know.
this is the thing that I think what it comes down to is why they're willing to take these extreme measures. I assume is because it's their biggest bottom line, right? If the game has a reputation for being flooded with cheaters, then people are like, not only does it have a reputation for running up, horribly, not only does it have a reputation for being extremely difficult, not only does, you have all these hurdles, and you add, cheating infested with cheaters onto it, like, no one's gonna want to buy the game. Like, very few people, at least, So I guess that's why they're willing to make all these like sacrifices on some of these issues. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's have a secret closed backdoor where you select few streamers can report players and we'll put them on the high priority list. Yeah, let's have this community ran reporting system and they'll send it to us so we can get the cheaters banned. Yeah, let's start banning people that are doing RMT because it's gonna lower the like, I don't know, man. It's their game. They can do what they want to do. It's just that's honestly what makes Tarkov such an interesting game as well, because there's such outsiders that it's like interesting to watch. You know what I mean? Develop and like they're like the underdogs, and I like them for that. But sometimes I wonder if they're like the villain in the underdog story. You know what I mean? Like they're the underdog hero, but they end up becoming the villain.
Live long enough to see yourself become.
Yeah, insert shitty quote. I mean, that's an exaggeration. I'm being facetious there. I don't actually
Yeah.
think they're villains, but
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know what. Oh God! Like I didn't do many viewer kits anyway, but like now is it time to make
yeah.
another video about It's just like we need to know exactly where we stand on it. Okay, no transfers at all.
I mean, I feel like some clarification would be nice for them. I mean, what did they
Like
say?
where did this come through? Because I've seen this through like Vibin and Terratex appearing on my Twitter feed. I've seen One Peg's video.
Yeah, where's the official channel? Oh
Where
wait.
like yeah.
Is it Twitter? Is it their Discord? Is it their Discord DMs between Sherpas and whoever else emissaries? I don't heckin' know. Yeah, it's not on the Escape from Tarkov Twitter.
No,
Is it on the Battlestate Games Twitter?
I wouldn't have thought so.
It's not on the Battlestate Games Twitter. So yeah, I have no clue, man. No clue.
Yeah.
So just
And
be
that's the thing.
careful what you pick up from friends, or especially friends. It's the best advice I can give you.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, can we
Indeed.
quickly touch on the goat one peg thing?
Sure, go for it.
Okay.
On the one
Drama
condition,
alert!
on the one condition that it's specifically because Goat was on this podcast recently, not because I think the
Yes.
situation is really,
It's not anything.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's not anything.
Anyway, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So, a quick recap. One Peg made a video. Gosh, One Peg, can you just stop? He made a video recently about BSG simping, and in it, I was kind of surprised to see Goat was featured in the thumbnail. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I know that guy, and it's really nothing special. Goat made a video talking about, I guess, BSG simping as well, and he kind of like called out. I guess the most noteworthy person would be like Nice Guy, which I thought was interesting. And I guess his general, you can watch the video if you want. You're welcome to. Just G0AT. Don't take my word for it. But his general thing was like, there's people in the community who simp for Tarkov, and they'll basically offer solutions. Like Nice Guy was offering a solution to basically pay for a developer to go work for BSG or something. And then he was saying there's watchdogs like Trey, that like keep the community in check. And he also featured in his opening one of OnePeg's thumbnails, the one where OnePeg has a picture of like the PMCs, and it was like big changes coming, and he was referencing like the BSG patch note where they say they're working on invisible players. This is like very typical news stuff. Now, OnePeg made a video addressing Goat's video essentially, and I tend to agree with OnePeg in that he's probably a really far thing from a simp in my eyes anyways. And I think, honestly, I think that's just kind of like I think it's like a perfect storm of things, because OnePeg kind of, I don't want to say he's a sensitive guy, but like he doesn't really put up with things. You know what I mean? Like, if you've seen his Twitter feed, like I think he has a second account where it's like OnePeg roast or something, but it's just like he'll just like you could be a 0 follower, followers Andy on Twitter, post under OnePeg, and then he'll respond to you. But so I think there's a little bit of that going on, because what happened in Goat's video, he was given an example of what's a simp essentially, and he flashed that thumbnail, major game changes, and the thing was like, I can kind of understand what Goat's saying there, because it really wasn't like anything was happening per se. This was like BSG announcing they're working on stuff, but the thumbnail is like, oh my god, big changes, this is major, implying they're fixing a visibility bug. And I would just boil that down to marketing. This is like thumbnail marketing 101.
Yeah, marketing and clickbait, whatever, right?
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it.
And I would even say it's like, a 0 on a scale of 1 to 10. A 1 being like, my sister did what, and there's no sister in the video, and a 10, being like a really good clickbait thumbnail that's like delivers on the promise of the thumbnail and everything. This was like an 8. You know what I mean? I think it was a good thing, and I think that's kind of where maybe Goat was just looking for examples, and he saw that and it was like, oh, that's a good example, I'll flash it up on the screen, blah blah blah. But he never really like called OnePeg a simp, but kind of indirectly implied he was a simp, right? So that's kind of how that's the catch up on the drama. I think honestly, if these two guys had a beer and sat down, they'd be like best of buds, in my opinion. But it's just kind of how things culminated.
I was thinking the other day, I was like, can you imagine? I was like, I'm sure this probably isn't the case, but in the back of my mind, I was like, can you imagine if like they're just like in their DMs, just being like, man, the marketing campaign's going so well.
Dude, and this is what I was gonna say as well, which I definitely don't think this is the case, but I could be wrong. If this was like a mastermind plan by Goat, for example, then like hats off to you, man, because like you got featured in the. I'm sure he got a little boost of viewers traffic to his channel, whether it's positive or negative. Doesn't any attention is good, or any whatever the saying is, but
yeah.
Anywho,
weird.
That's just kind of all I wanted to say there, is give my 2 cents, and I think just kind of a miss thing there, but
yeah, I think it was just, I don't know whether that was because, and again, I saw the video because like I watch a lot of OnePeg stuff, and I saw the thumbnail and I was like, I know that guy. And so I got like, I ended up looking into it, and I just like regret even looking at it, right?
See me, I'm just like eating the popcorn, like, yeah, this is good stuff, this is the Tarkov drama I live for.
I think it was just like, I was like, I don't know, 5 minutes in or whatever, and I was just after all the other stuff that we've talked about, I was just like, this is time I'm never getting back, like, God, I was just like so sick of just the general like social media thing. At that point, I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe it's come to this. This is like the lowest common denominator of like Tarkov engagement or whatever. But Oh dear me. Yeah. No. Yeah. I guess like we
This
had him on
week on
recently.
Tarkov,
So
one peg drama alert featuring Goat. Big news, guys. Get it? Yeah. It's a rough week in Tarkov for sure.
yeah, got a VSS buff, and then the rest of the community's falling apart. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, funny, funny.
We don't have time, but maybe next week we should talk about Lightkeeper because it is something that I looked into briefly and then kind of just ignored it. But the more I've been hearing it from like the other channels, it just kind of, makes me wish things were different. And it doesn't mean that they can't not be different, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it could be a continuation of this pod. No, it could be another topic to throw in there.
Yeah. I hope that everything's lovely next week, and that
Yeah,
I don't know. They come out with an audio patch and everything's fixed, and
that would be
the world is
really
just
that'd be really great. That'd be a big W, as the kids would
yeah.
say.
I think there's like one final comment that I have about the general situation,
Sure.
which made me I probably can't find him now, but what's the dude's name? He's a streamer. He's called like Varan Ambien or something. He's like a lawyer. I don't know how you pronounce his name.
I don't think I recognize that. He's a
Oh
lawyer.
god, yeah, and he like streams. I can't. I don't know
Does
what
he stream
his.
Tarkov?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just don't know how to write his name. Anyway, he posted something up about like I can't find the tweet, which is irritating. But he posted something up about how he was getting a bit fed up with some of the community engagement stuff from BSG, which I can rightly understand. And because he was just like, I've been reporting bugs in the launcher or wherever I need to report bugs for like 5 years. I've been playing for a long time. And, recently he's just like, I don't even see the point because I've started getting these auto replies basically saying like the support queue is too full. Your ticket's been auto closed and hasn't been reviewed. If you're still encountering the problem, please resubmit the ticket. And the reason why it made me a bit sad was because I also had a ticket like that myself. And I was just like, I don't know what that means, whether there's like more requests than normal, whether the support team is smaller, whether they're like just not looking at it. I don't know. But it leaves a really bad taste, right? Because like you have to go through quite a few hoops to submit a bug report. It's not actually that. It's not like insta click, like it's easy. There's an in-game screen recorder or anything like that, right? You have to go and you have to upload a YouTube video and you have to put it on and then you have to take the link back and then fill out the thing. You can't be in game. You have to be in the launcher. All this stuff. And then to get the ticket like kicked back and just be like, yeah, nobody looked at it. Just like resubmit it if it's a problem.
Which I presume you would get the same response if you didn't resubmit it.
Well, I don't know. I didn't bother, to be honest with you.
Because you can only submit one a day, right?
Yeah, so you have to submit it the following day.
That's funny.
So it's like by that time I've forgotten, right? And I've just like moved on with my life.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there are probably a million people. It's like people saying chat. Probably a million people have like reporting audio like every day or something. So they just like can't even.
Yeah, that's true.
Presumably, or like the invisibility bug. They're like reporting, oh, this raid, invisibility bug, this raid, invisibility is probably completely inundated. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I just reminded myself about that at the end. It's like just like another thing that like just chipped away at me, just being like,
yeah,
man, like I submitted a report, like, previously support have replied to stuff or they've said at least, it's forwarded onto the devs, that's the end of the thread. And that kind of stuff is like gone somewhere. But when it like comes back and specifically it's just like, nobody read this. You're like, oh no. It just made me feel awful. It just made me feel really bad. I'm like, we're supposed to be reporting these things. Like at least have a button to like resubmit it or something the following day, Like, don't make me fill out the ticket again, dude.
So sorry about that. I blue screened and
I don't see your camera, by the way.
Oh, how about
we're probably finishing up anyway, like
now? Yeah.
Basically now anyway. I moved on to a completely different topic because we just like deviated while you were
sorry.
While you were doing your thing.
I'm trying to remember what you were saying, but I guess you probably
I was talking about the tickets getting bounced back. That was the last thing that I was saying before we got DC'd.
Right.
And it basically sucks. And it made me sad about the ticket queue and reporting feedback, which is not really ideal.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were just talking about quality of life a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, those things would help. I played Darker and Darker, and I definitely I got my eye on that game, man. I kind of like, I don't know, dude.
Should we talk about it next week? I think there's a lot to cover. I'd like to. I haven't actually
Sure.
played this test, but I'd love to talk about it a bit more. Let's talk about those two things next week. Let's talk about Lightkeep and let's talk about Dark and Darker.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
Because I do enjoy seeing other extraction shooters and extraction games in general, see what they've done, because it's like very insightful. You get to see someone else's take on it without us having to like do stuff in EFT.
Sure.
Which is neat. A bit like when you played Lost Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of out of time, I think.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm sorry, man. Okay.
No worries.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this cast.
It was different, at least.
Yeah, different for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll keep trucking along. Thanks everyone for the continued support as always. Appreciate you all, and until next time, see you later.